Hello friends, welcome back. First of all, I want to say sorry for missing last week's video. I have not missed an upload in I think a year, and it sucks to have done that, but my life has just been so crazy on so many different levels, and I will have a whole video coming next week in which we go on that journey together. But for today, I have some stacks of books that I've purchased in the past couple of months, and I just want to chat about them with you. So here's what I need from you. A lot of these I have already read, but a lot of them I have not read. So for the ones that I haven't read yet, I would love to hear your thoughts on them. If you have read them, hype me up for them in the comments. I'm having a bit of a rough time reading recently just because there's been a lot of stress going on. So please hype me up for anything that you've loved so that I get really excited about it so I can get back into reading, trying to stave off a reading slump, which it might just be what has to happen, and that's okay. In the past 4-ish months, I've acquired about 22 books, so we have lots of things to talk about. Let's jump in. Let's talk about the series I have acquired. So I did acquire 3 books in the Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels Dangerous Damsels series, but I only have 2 of them to show you because I lent one of them to one of my friends because I'm loving this series. I have read the first 2 books, which are The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels and The League of Gentlewomen Witches, and I am now currently reading The Secret Service of Tea and Treason. These are absolutely absurd, over-the-top books. Please go read a sample before you purchase them. You will either love it or hate it, and if you love or hate the first chapter, you'll love or hate the rest of the book. It doesn't change its vibe. It's 100% what it is all the way through. In the first book, we're following lady pirates as they fly houses over Victorian England. And then in the second book, we're following the rivalry with the League of Gentlewomen Witches, and in here we have fake matrimony. It's between 2 Secret Service agents, and they're trying to foil a plot to assassinate the Queen. Amazing. Love these so much. Another series I acquired was the Rest of the Heartstopper series. I hadn't read volumes 3 or 4, and I'm really glad that I did. I had a really great time reading these. I'll link the video in which I vlogged this experience in the description, but I found these on Pango. They were used, and they're in perfect condition. So this was an amazing find, and now I have the whole series. I'm really excited for book 5 to come out. I think it comes out later this year. So fingers crossed we get to pick that up as soon as it comes out. I've also been working my way through the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers. So I picked up and immediately read Record of a Spaceborne Few. These are cozier sci-fi books. They're not as cozy as like the Monk and the Robot series. If you've read that, that is probably the coziest sci-fi I have ever read. These are a little bit more higher stakes, especially this third one. It gets pretty life-threatening. There are high stakes and things do go down. And I have just absolutely been loving the series. There's only 1 book left, and one of you lovely people were kind enough to send it to me. So here is The Galaxy and the Ground Within, which I am so excited to read. Bestie Lena sent it to me and said, I hope you like this one as much as you like the others. Lena, I also hope that happens. I am so excited to read this book. Thank you so much for sending it to me. That is so incredibly kind of you. In this series, we're all in the same universe, and people are like tangentially related to the characters we followed in the first book, which is A Long Way to a Small and Grey Planet, but we're also following like completely different people in every single book, which I, for one, have been loving. I didn't realize that was what the series was going to be going into it, but I've really been enjoying that. And in this one, we are on the planet Gora, which is unremarkable, and this is what the back says. If deep space is a highway, Gora is just your average truck stop. So we're following the people who are on this planet, and I'm really excited to pick this up. Speaking of favorite authors, I did pick up T. Kingfisher's newest release at the end of March. Unfortunately, this one didn't work as well for me as I thought it would. I think I ended up giving it 3 or 4 stars. I enjoyed my time with it, but I wanted more. I think I prefer T. Kingfisher's longer horror, especially when she goes gothic, because there's this really slow burn, and I do really love when T. Kingfisher gets over the top, and that did happen in here, but it was such a small chunk of the book. I wanted to be in that space for longer. I wish this were a longer book, but I did still have a good time. We're following this woman as she goes to visit her mother, who is staying in her grandmother's house, and our main character used to live there, and there's all these vultures. I wanted more vulture. T. Kingfisher does a great animal companion, and I felt like our vulture here had capacity to be a much larger part of the story than he was, and I was just a little disappointed that I didn't get more vulture. But it's T. Kingfisher. I'm always going to have a good time reading her books, even if they're not all new favorites. Then I picked up This Gilded Abyss by Rebecca Thorne. So this is the author of Can't Spell Treason Without Tea and A Pirate's Life for Tea, the cozy fantasy series that kind of blew up on TikTok. I do really love this author, and this release kind of took me by surprise. I didn't realize that she was releasing releasing another book this year because Pirate's Life for Tea also came out in 2023. So I wasn't expecting another release from her. And this book is not cozy fantasy. It's much higher stakes. It's like this underwater sapphic horror situation. And that sounds right up my alley. I definitely want to pick this up, especially since Our Wives Under the Sea worked so well for me. I'm down for some more underwater horror vibes for sure. And I feel like this book has not quite found its audience yet. Since I know that I like this author's writing style, and I also like the non-cozy fantasy type books. I like horror. I like reading this genre. I really want to pick this up, so hopefully I can be a small part of helping it find its right audience. But I haven't had a chance to pick this up yet, so if you have read it and you liked it, please let me know in the comments. I did also pick up R.F. Kuang's new release, which is Yellowface. I'm sure you already heard about this book. It's about this woman who steals her dead friend's manuscript. She changes her name to be more racially ambiguous so she can steal her friend's manuscript. It's a Yellowface situation. It's a thriller. I loved it. I really had a good time with this. I think it's a really good entry point into R.F. Kuang's work if her longer fantasy is a little intimidating for you. Next, I have some thrift shop finds. I went to a friend's wedding in June, and we were kind of walking around a little downtown in Boone, North Carolina. Such a gorgeous town, such a gorgeous place. And I found some books in a thrift store, and I had heard of The Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. I think actually The Kind Worth Saving, the sequel to this, came out this year or is coming out this year. So it was 75 cents, and I thought that I wanted to give it a go. So if you've read this, please hype me up in the comments because I could very well see this sitting on my TBR for over a year, and I do want to make time for it. So if you like this book, please help me to generate excitement. Then I picked up Swamplandia. I'd seen this like a tiny little bit. I think the reviews are very mixed on this. I'm going to visit my parents in Florida in August. I thought it might be fun to read a chapter of this before I go, see if I like it. If I do, I can read a book about a swamp in the swamp, and that would be fun. Also, while I was in Boone, we went to a new bookstore and I picked up Witch Hat Atelier, and I read this during Summerween and I really, really loved it. People keep telling me to pick this up. They were right. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I don't think it's groundbreaking by any means, but it was a really nice, cozy, witchy time and exactly what I needed during Summerween, and I will be continuing in this manga series in the future. I cannot for the life of me remember if I have hauled this yet, but I found this used. It's the Novel Cure. It is literally A to Z afflictions and books for those afflictions. So like if you, let's see. Okay, so this one says family, coping without. So coping without family. The thing that you should read is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. There's also family, coping with. If you're having trouble coping with family, you should read A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. So it's got like a bunch of books for A to Z ailments, bibliotherapy, if you will. I thought it'd be really cool to do a video. So I picked a prompt. I don't even remember what it was. And the book that I was recommended was IQ 84, and I ordered it used, and I did not realize that it was over 1,000 pages. And then I completely lost all motivation to read this book and complete this series. So, if now, having heard the video idea, the video series idea, if you think that that would be interesting and cool and fun for me to do still, please let me know in the comments because I have lost all motivation because I don't want to read 1,000 pages of a Haruki Murakami book when I have never read from this author before. And honestly, the reviews for this, very mixed, and I'm worried. Let's finish up with all the things that I read during Summerween. So I did pick up the Book of the Most Precious Substance. This is about an occult book of sex magic, and it is a wild ride. I did have a good time with this. It ended up being more twisty and turny than I thought it would be. I thought it would be more of like a barely horror type story, kind of like a woman eating kind of vibe, and it ended up being more thriller than I was expecting, and I had a nice time reading it. Then one of you lovely, lovely people sent me this incredible book. Monica said, "A little something for brightening up my days with your videos." I really love this one. I hope you do too. Monica, I really did love this. Thank you so much for sending this to me. I fully started crying when I opened this because this was such a nice thing to do. I did not expect anyone to send me a book, and I just thank you. Like, I feel so weird coming on here and thanking you for sending me a book because I can't believe that you would want to do that. If you want to follow that journey with me, I will link the video in the description where I read this. It was during Summerween, and it was a really, really lovely time. This is such a gorgeous graphic novel. The art in here is amazing. This is by Kay O'Neill, who also wrote the Tea Dragon Society books, which I love. And I really love this story. I think it was perfect for Summerween because it was still about kind of like nighttime nocturnal things, but it wasn't super scary spooky, which I think I need a little break because I read a lot of scary spooky things during Summerween, so I really, really loved this. We are following this young person who is the moth keeper. There are these magical moths in this magical tree, and it's just very slightly magical in the way that I love Kay O'Neill's books because they're so intentional about talking about real world issues, but they have this magical element to them that just makes them feel really warm, and I had a really great time. I don't think I actually did read this during Summerween. Maybe I read this just before Summerween, but this is the only one left by Riley Sager. I have kind of an unpopular opinion about this because my favorite Riley Sager is The House Across the Lake, which is a lot of people's least favorite Riley Sager. And then I keep giving his stuff 3.5 stars, and I have a good time. I'm always hooked while I'm reading them. And then afterwards, I kind of feel a little like, was that worth spending my time? Like, I kind of feel a little gross when I finish reading them. There's so many other great thrillers out there that I have a really great time with. They have social commentary. I feel like they really do the most. And I don't know if this did the most. I don't know if it did the most for me. So those are my thoughts and feelings and opinions about this. The setup, the premise of this was so interesting. There's a little like creepy nursery rhyme in here, which I always love. We're following this woman who goes to be a caretaker for Lenora Hope. It is rumored that Lenora Hope killed her entire family, and she lives in this crumbling house that is sliding into the sea. The atmosphere is incredible. I really love the setup to this. Just don't think it executed in the way that I wanted it to. It did have the like Riley Sager plot twist whiplash going on where you were like, oh my god, and again, there's just lots of twists and turns, and I had a good time reading it, but it very quickly will leave my brain. I have a bunch more things that I found used to chat to you about. So I did pick up Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and I have already read this. I am on an Emily Henry kick right now. I've been really enjoying all of her books. I'm going to be picking up People We Meet on Vacation on my own vacation, and I cannot wait for that. In this book, we're following this shark of a literary agent and this editor. They have this kind of like hate to love situation going on. I liked it. I liked the banter. I know a lot of people have problems with this book, and I think they're all super valid. She did go on a vacation with her sister and then did not spend time with her sister and instead hung out with this dude all the time. But she was also working all the time, so it wasn't really a vacation. Interesting vibes. Not how I like to go on vacation, but I had a great time. I liked the romance. I thought it was great. Love Emily Henry. At the same bookstore where I found Book Lovers, I found Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. I tried so hard to read Ulysses in college, and I did fail so fast. So I thought this one might be a better entry point into this author. I'm also going to see Hosier in October, and this author is one of his favorites, so I really feel like it's time. It's exactly the right time for me to read some more James Joyce. And then I also found Sea of Tranquility there. This is the only Emily St. John Mandel that I have not read. This was actually new at the bookstore, but it was like $13, so it was a little bit cheaper than I would probably find it elsewhere. I believe it does draw from her other books like Station 11 and The Glass Hotel, and I want to read it while I still remember what happened in those books. So I honestly don't think I have ever read the back of this. I've just heard great things about it, so let's read it together. On a remote island in the Canadian wilderness, the impossible notes of a violin echo in an airship terminal. This place, or is it a place, upends and connects a series of lives. Edwin St. Andrew, exiled son of an aristocratic family, is driven to madness. Olive Llewellyn, resident of the second moon colony, weaves the violin into her pandemic novel. Marilla Kessler, victim of a Ponzi scheme, seeks her estranged friend. And Gaspery Roberts, a detective in the black-skied Night City, glimpses the chance to do something extraordinary that will disrupt the timeline of the universe. Emily St. John Mandel gives us a novel of art, time travel, love, and plague that takes the reader from Vancouver Island in 1912 to a dark colony on the moon 500 years later, unfurling a story of humanity across centuries and space. A virtuoso performance that is as human and tender as it is intellectually playful, Sea of Tranquility is a novel of metaphysics that precisely captures the reality of our current moment. What a blurb. Oh my goodness, that is one of the most enticing back summaries of a book I've ever read. I can't wait. Just a couple more things to chat about. I picked up Pod because Lena Norms compared this to The Overstory, and I have wanted to read The Overstory for so long, but it's a chunky book, and I can't make myself read it. And this one's smaller and it's supposed to be the Overstory-esque, but in the ocean. But since hearing about this for the first time, I've since learned that maybe the content of this is going to be a bit much for me, so I'm gonna have to do some research on content warnings and decide if I still want to try to pick this up. I could really do with people hyping up in the comments this book. If you liked it and read it, please let me know, because I was super excited when I purchased it and now less so, but I think it's just like, I just need to do the mental work to figure out if I can handle the book. Okay, another one of you lovely people sent me Harrow the Ninth, and I want to read you what Tiffany said, because Tiffany, your note made me worried. Tiffany says, I was so mad at this book that I put it down for several months before being able to pick it up again. It's totally worth it though. Tiffany, I'm so worried. Every time I tell people that I'm excited about this book or that I'm about to read this book, they give me this look that makes me feel like this book is going to traumatize me. I'm so worried. This is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth. I read it earlier this year and loved it, absolutely devoured Gideon the Ninth. And I have been waiting to acquire this one because I really want to read it on vacation. I feel like that'll give me the perfect opportunity to just sit, and this book can ruin my life on vacation because I don't have to do anything but sit in a pool and read this book. So, very excited to have my life ruined by Harrow the Ninth. Cannot wait. Those are all the physical books that I've acquired in the past couple of months. I do want to chat through some stats on like used versus new and what I spent on books. So in the past 4 months, I've spent on average $70 a month on books, which is an absurd amount for anyone who doesn't read as much as I do. Like last year I read 163 books, I think, and that's a stupid number of books. I do read probably about half of the books that I read in any given month from the library, and then the other half obviously are books that I have purchased. And now, thanks to you lovely people and also some publishers, I'm starting to get some things gifted to me as well. Let me do some organizing and then we'll talk. Out of the 22 books I have shown you today, 10 of them I bought new. Of those 10, the vast majority are paperbacks. That is my preferred way to read. 9 times out of 10, if I am buying a book new, it's gonna be a paperback. If I'm in the bookstore and I'm choosing between a $30 hardcover and a $16 paperback, that I prefer the reading experience of a paperback anyways, I'm gonna pick up a paperback. It's just the way that my brain works. These are the only 3 new release hardcovers that I have purchased, and 2 of them, both of these, I bought on sale. I pre-ordered this when Barnes & Noble had their pre-order sale, and this one I was able to find on sale. I can't remember where I got it from. The T. Kingfisher is the only one that I bought brand new full price. T. Kingfisher is my favorite author. I'm comfortable doing that. I probably would have been comfortable buying both of these full price as well, but I managed to find a sale, so that was great. These are the only hardcovers that I purchased brand new. They're like $30 hardcovers. Like that's expensive. So when I do buy things new, I try to get paperbacks. All of these came from my local independent bookstore, except for this one, which is independently published, so I had to find on Amazon. And I also grabbed this one when I was placing the order because it was on sale for $5. Then of those 22, 3 were kindly gifted by some of you guys, which is absolutely incredible. You don't have to do that. Please do not feel like you have to do that. But seriously, you made me tear up every single time I got a package, and I love you all so very much. Which means that the rest of everything we chatted about, I bought used. Most of these came from Pango, but some of them came from local used bookstores, thrift shops. Anytime I go to any store, regardless of whether or not I was there for books, I check out the book section, and if there are friends that need to be taken home, I take them home. I was attempting to do a book haul every quarter and we got a little bit behind, so that was a little bit more than there usually is, but I will see you again in another couple of months to chat about the things that I have acquired. Again, I am so sorry for missing last week's video. There will be a nice, juicy, meaty vlog up next week to make up for it, in which I am reading 3 different arcs plus some bonus books. It's gonna be a great time. I'm very excited. I will give you updates on the housing debacle, my dating life. We're gonna get into a lot of things in next week's video, so stay tuned. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching. I will see you next week. I post every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, so I will see you then. Bye.